Welcome back to another video. Brief interlude from UIX to talk about a new type of button that was added. The world of buttons, especially the world of buttons in 3D, is quite complicated, so I'm glad that this button exists because it's probably the most simple one to use in the most appropriate way. That is the touch buttons. That's going to be the subject. Before I go over the touch button though, I want to go over the other two types of buttons that you'll most likely see. There are videos from me on this type of buttons. I use them all the time, and so I want to illustrate the difference between them and talk about touch button and why it's cool that it exists. All of these buttons are good. You can use all of them. I just want to go through the options. So if we head over in Smooth POV here, to the left here I have three types of buttons. I have the NeosUI button. This is found in the Create New menu, so Create New Object NeosUI button. That's the button you'll see lots of beginners being used, or lots of sort of fast UI. If you're not really bothered about the layout or what your UI looks like, that's a perfect good option for buttons. They make a quick button, they look good, they work good, they're labeled good, they're readable. Next to that we have the physical button. I have a video on this one. It'll be found in the video description. The physical button is meant to resemble buttons that you might see within the world, such as on a panel or like a spaceship or something. So if I push this button, you'll see it goes into the box a little bit. It has vertical movement. That's the physical button. So I talk about that one in the physical button video. And then the new one to the right here just looks like a cube, but it's actually a button. And that's the new one. That's touch button. So let's take a look at touch button. So first of all, we're going to create a touch button. I'll show you how easy this is, and this is one of the great things about it. If you want something that's touchable and responds to the button style interactions, then touch button's for you. Let's go ahead and we're going to go to create new 3D model. Pick one, like whatever you want. I wouldn't recommend grid, but you can pick whatever you want. So cylinder, cool. We can go ahead and inspect the cylinder. So we're going to go ahead and aim the laser at it, open inspector. I'm going to go attach component, transform, interaction, touch button. And we're done. That is the touch button added. You'll see that when I click it, we get is pressed appearing. Nothing changes visibly. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go down. It doesn't have this weird, syncing state where it looks like a physical button. It's not orange and slanted and has this weird pulse. It's just it's a cylinder that you can click. Not only that, it can respond to the usual way of getting events from a button. Now I show this in many videos. We don't need a logics tip for this. I'm just grabbing one from my inventory. But do not, under any circumstances, well, some I guess, but under most circumstances, use isPressed to figure out if this button is being pressed. This is just for sort of UI elements to make the button look pretty when it's being pressed. It's not for collecting events from the button. Touch button, like the other two buttons behind me, responds to button events. So you can go ahead and grab touch button. Turn to the right here, push secondary, it spawns in the world. Here's touch button. You can open up the node browser here and you can go to interaction button events and you can spawn button events next to it. You can plug this in and then pull out pressed and you'll see that you get it. I have a dedicated video on this one called getting a event from a button, which covers this in more detail, but this is doing it in the context of a touch button. Touch button was added just to be a simplistic button that didn't have any physical momentum to it, or it wasn't yellow and wasn't in UIX land and wasn't touch event relay or touchable data, which are other options. They just have different caveats. For example, touch event relay supplies the entire touch event, so it's very, very complicated and difficult to make a button chain from it. Touchable data requires the use of fire on true. It doesn't hook up to button events. I don't use it a lot because of that, but sometimes it's good for sort of just visual effects. But physical button, NeosUI button, and now touch button are the best choices if you're just making a button. So that is touch button for you. Should be a short video because it's a really great component. It has a lot of properties that are similar to the physical button, such as the accept physical touch, accept remote touch, etc. So if you're interested in those, do check out the physical button video because they are essentially the same, and I don't want to rehash some old content, so go take a look at that one if you'd like to see it. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.